This is the world-famous adjective chart for the positive, comparative, and superlative degrees. First and second declension adjectives, positive degree. They come in three different kinds, like latus, which means wide or broad. Us, are the endings. The us stands for the masculine, the is the nominative feminine, and the is the nominative neuter. The stem is found by taking the us off of the first part. So the stem is lot. The next kind of first and second declension adjective is miser, misera, miserum, where you have era, erum. Notice that the e stays in all the forms, and you find the stem by chopping off either the a or the So the stem of this adjective is miser, and it will keep the stem unchanged, miser, throughout its entire declension. The endings, which will be first and second declension, will be added to this stem, miser. That's slightly different from poker, pokra, pokrum, which means beautiful or pretty. Notice that in its feminine and neuter forms, the e has dropped out. Poker, no e, no e. Go to the feminine or the neuter form, the a or the chop them off to get the stem. The adjective stem is poker. Notice that the e has dropped out. The only place in this adjective's declension that the e stays is right here in the nominative singular masculine poker form. Otherwise, e has dropped out, and that's the stem. The endings, which will be first and second declension, are added to this stem. So for the third declension adjectives are divided into 3 termination, 2 termination, and 1 termination. By contrast, the first and second declension adjectives, they are all 3 termination in that they have 1, 2, 3 terminations or endings based on the gender in the nominative. So 1 form for the masculine, 1 form for the feminine, 1 form for the neuter in the nominative. Masculine, feminine, neuter, masculine, feminine, neuter. When we get to the third declension, we have 3 termination, where we have 1 form for the masculine, keller, 1 form for the feminine, kelleris, and 1 form for the neuter, kellere. The stem is found by taking off either the is or the a. So the stem is keller. And third declension, I stem endings will be added to this stem. Now, 2 termination adjectives, that means that the masculine and the feminine genders have merged into one. So you can't tell just by looking, that's going to be masculine or feminine. If you looked at keller by itself, you could tell that's masculine. Kelleris by itself, if you saw that and knew it was nominative, you would say that's feminine. You can't tell by looking at just fortis whether it's masculine or feminine. Forte is neuter, so it follows a different path in the neuter. You'd get the stem by chopping off either the is or the a. It doesn't matter. So the stem for this adjective is fort. And then 1 termination adjectives, there is only 1 form for the masculine, 1 form for the feminine, and 1 form for the neuter, and it's potens for masculine, feminine, and neuter. You have to know the genitive for these guys to get the stem. The stem for this adjective is potent. Okay, that's positive. So that just means wide, broad, poor, unfortunate, wretched, pretty, beautiful, noble, fine, swift, quick, fast, brave, strong, powerful, able. Now we're jumping to the comparative degree. If you are still in chapter 6 of Jenny's first year Latin, you are done at this point, at latus aum. If you are on chapter 8, you are done after poker. If you are on chapter 18, you need to know all of this. Chapter 33 is when we start getting into the comparative and the superlative. So don't get ahead of yourself if you're not there yet. For the comparative degree, we translate these guys as more or and that doesn't work all the time. So if you have wide, making it comparative, we can add to make it wider. Poorer, don't say beautifuler, do say more beautiful. And then you can also add to, that's T-double-O, to something. Like this is too broad, too wide, this is too unfortunate. Rather unfortunate, quite beautiful. So the comparative is this sort of middling degree between the normal adjective and the positive, then the super adjective in the superlative. So to form the comparative adjective in Latin, you need to have the stem of the positive, so lat, miser, pulcher, celer, fort, potent. Good thing we already went through that. Now you add ior, eor, for the masculine and the feminine nominative. And then ius, eos, for the neuter. Note that you also need to put down the genitive, latiores. Note that it's a third declension. It now becomes a third declension. No matter what declension the adjective was in the positive, all comparatives are third declension because we've added a new stem and that stem has to be third declension. So latior for masculine and feminine, latius for neuter, latiores is the genitive for both, Miserior, miserios, the genitive being miseriores. And just like with a noun, you would chop off that is genitive to get the stem latior or miserior or pulchrior, and then add third declension adjective endings. Notice the stem pulcher to get pulchrior, pulchrius, pulchriores is the genitive. Same thing for third declension. The stem was celer in the positive, calerior, calerios, genitive caleriores. Fort was the stem here, fortior, fortius, fortiores. Potent was the stem here, potentior, potentius, potentiores. Now, for the superlative, we translate that as very, or most, or ad est. So we can say wide est to get the superlative, most wide, very wide. But once again, don't say beautifulest. Say very or most beautiful. So I'm going to star a couple of these, or a few of these. Miser, poker, and celer, I'm going to star. So we'll start with latus, because it's first. We have the stem lot. Add issimus, issimus, I-S-S-I-M-U-S, issimus, So once again, we've turned this back into a first and second declension adjective. It started out as a first and second declension. In the comparative, it was a third, and now it's back to being a first and second declension. All superlatives are first and second declension declined. All comparatives are third declension adjective declined. Positives, it's whatever the dictionary entry tells you it is. So latissimus, very wide, most wide, widest. I'm now going to jump down to fortis forte. Fort is the stem. Fortissimus, very brave, very strong. Potent is the stem. Potentissimus, very powerful, most able, ablest. Now I'm going to go back to these adjectives that I starred. Miser, pulcher, and celer. If you look at their positive forms, if their positive forms end in er, miser, pulcher, celer, that activates a superlative form ending in rimus, instead of issimus. You take this form, miser, the masculine nominative singular, Write it down unchanged and then add rimus, so you get a double R. Miserimus aum. Very poor, very wretched. Don't say miserissimus. That is silly and doesn't exist. Same thing with poker. Pokerimus aum. Very beautiful, most beautiful. Very fine. Noblest. And last, keler. Kelerimus aum. Very quick, very fast. Please review these and also practice declining them with nouns.